We have these gut impulses that when you look at them, I mean, they worked 50,000 years ago. Right now, they're nothing but destructive.
Yeah.
So getting back to fixes, I have increasingly grown to believe that the only real way to save humanity is by changing humanity into something else. I think we got to change these biases. If we could just get rid of hyperbolic discounting alone, that at least would allow us to put long-term consequences on the same footing as our current standard of living.
I would say
That
same
could
thing
do
with
a lot.
misattribution bias. There's a few constructs if we can remove, would change things. I don't know, good or bad, but they would change things.
It sounds pretty pie in the sky, right? We're going to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
down. What are we going to do? We're going to take a pair of needle-nose pliers and yank the neural wiring. But
Well-
there are some hints as to how we can do this. Parkinson's disease, for example. Victims of Parkinson's disease are less religious than the rest of us. And that's weird because most victims of fatal diseases tend to be more religious because they're closer to death, the whole no atheists in foxhole syndrome. But apparently what happens is the pathogen that causes Parkinson's, which we think starts in the gut and actually works its way up to the brain through the vagus nerve, burns out whatever parts of the brain are involved in religiosity.
Yep.
There's a number of those. There's the temporal lobes. There's the right prefrontal cortex. There's a bunch of them. But my point is, we've got here a disease. It infects people. It impacts their neurochemistry. If we could tweak Parkinson's so that it becomes A, more infectious, B, leaves the rest of your brain alone, but C, continues to take out the religious centers, we could infectiously make our species congenitally less evil. I mean, we're talking here about systems of belief that have historically provided cover for, misogyny, racism, holy wars, mass extermination.
How would that approach be any different than, let's say, Nazi Germany looking for the pure race, whatever their definition is? How do we know this is the right approach versus, the other
Well,
one?
for one thing, I think that we could never get institutional approval for something like that. Nazi Germany Nazi Germany was a bureaucracy. Nazi Germany made extermination a policy. I don't see that happening here. I see, if anything happens, I see somebody, buying a CRISPR gene editing kit for $150
Right,
through the mail
right.
and trying to tweak something in their basement. Basically, I see Heath Ledger, the Joker,
Right.
as a biotechnologist. And to anticipate your next question, yes, I fully expect there would be off-target effects. I fully expect things could go disastrously wrong. I fully expect that there could be somebody coming up with, just to take this one particular example, and I
Right.
have others, somebody could come up with some kind of weird super Parkinson's that turns everybody into a short-circuiting bundle of nerves in 30 seconds. All of these things could happen. There are a great many horrific potential consequences of essentially using bioterrorism and like genetic terrorism as a way of rewriting human nature. However, we're wiping out 130,000 species a year as it is.
That's true.
And so the question is not, we are in a plane that was supposed to be cruising at 30,000 feet, is now at 10,000, and it is in a nosedive. The question is not, is a radical solution like engineering Parkinson's disease a good solution?
Right.
No. It's a dangerous solution.
Yeah.
It's a fucking insane solution.
Yeah.
The question is it less insane than continuing to wipe out 130,000 species a year? Do we really want to make the merely catastrophic the enemy of the downright apocalyptic?
Right.
That is the situation I think we're in now. We don't have much time. And let's face it, if we pull out of this current nosedive, we had a nuclear arms race. We nearly blew ourselves up with nukes before we found out about climate change. After climate change, if we manage to survive that, we're probably going to make, I don't know, a hard AI singularity or a gray goo nanotech apocalypse. The problem is never the technology. The problem is human nature. If we manage to cheat our way out of one apocalyptic scenario, we will make other ones because we always have. And only over the past couple hundred years have those scenarios threatened the entire planet. So ultimately, can you come up with an argument against eliminating the very biases that force us to continue to create these disaster scenarios?
So how do you think this is going to turn out?
Oh, I expect what's going to happen is that before the end of the century, large parts of the planet will be uninhabitable. I expect there will still be high-tech holdouts. There will be people who manage to sort of survive by walling, so the zero pointers and their explosive collars. I suspect that the infrastructure amongst the rest of us will probably have collapsed. I suspect that we'll probably, I mean, we're already kind of living in a high-tech feudal state in terms of America describes itself as a democracy, but as Thomas Piketty said, unless you describe a democracy as a system in which when the majority of people want something that goes against the interests of the elites, they lose, America has not had a functioning democracy for decades.
That's true.
So we'll probably be in the same situation we are now, except with much lower tech and much less infrastructural support. I see a serious backslide.